the guy at the bar. The guy at the bar is quite clearly. We left the bar, and he walked out immediately after us.
We're definitely big. He's definitely watching.
He's watching us. He wants to know where we're going.
He's been watching us the entire time.
I think he wants to take the tapes. I don't know.
Are you seeing him on the...
He could be like a ghost. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we heard enough stories about hit squads and stuff today.
There's definitely a lot of haunting going on in the city.
Who knows what that guy was involved in back in the day? And, you know, this fucking guy's
He could be right behind us.
I know, that's what freaking...
Let's go a little higher. This night has turned into a horror movie.
My name is Matt Kibbe, and I run an organization called Free the People. Last year, me and my band of intrepid filmmakers were invited to Belgrade, Serbia by International Students for Liberty to give a talk about how we tell stories about freedom. While in town, we hooked up with our friend and guide Petar to learn about Belgrade's communist past and where it's headed in the future. We also took time to sample some of the amazing food, drink, and culture Serbia has to offer. This is what we found.
Compared to a lot of Eastern European centers, it's a pretty cosmopolitan city.
Yeah, so the thing is that it's the biggest city in the region, so people-wise and area-wise.
Yeah.
It has the biggest airport, all these things, but also it's basically a place where two different empires met for several centuries. Austro-Hungarian Empire and Ottomans. So you have also two different cultures, and it's kind of on the way, like connecting all these things like Western Europe with Turkey. So we are kind of used to the flow of people here, and I think that, you know, either in transit or as tourists, people come here a lot.
So this fortress goes back in time forever, right?
Yeah, it's very old. The first part of the fortress on this site, like in this area, were built back, you know, by the Romans, like first century or so. It's a very old fortress, and then it was used alternatively by whoever held Belgrade, be it, you know, Ottoman Empire for several centuries, or, you know, Austrian Empire that usually attacked it from the other side of the river. And then, of course, when Serbia established itself as a country with Belgrade, you know, as the capital city, they slowly started turning it into a park back in the mid-19th century.
So we're here at Manufactura. Pardon my Serbian, it may or may not be accurate, but we came here last time we were here a couple years ago, and Balkan food is typically huge piles of grilled animals, so it's everything that I love. We're going to try some grilled meat. We're going to try rakia, which is a sort of brandy-style hard liquor that they love here, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to be in a meat coma by 9 o'clock.
And this is the iron sausage. It's donkey, sheep, and beef meat. It's really good for an aphrodisiac. Okay. Enjoy.
Well, I'm just locking my door tonight if Matt eats some of that. These are the two rivers that sort of fed the city originally.
Yeah, so this is Sava River, and then it meets Danube over there. You don't see it, but Danube is actually much bigger. You can't see the whole river because it's on the other side of the island as well. So that's where they meet. So they have defined the city, you know, from the very beginning. And this part is older. New Belgrade was built after the World War II. Like, it used to be a swamp, it was drained, and then during communist times they started developing and building. Like, the first buildings were built before the World War II, like when it was the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. But most of it, like 98% of it, was built after the World War II, especially during the 60s and 70s, and then it further developed.
And this used to be this big building right behind us was the Communist Party.
The tall tower, the glass tower, used to be the headquarters of the Communist Party of Yugoslavia. It's called the Central Committee building. It was bombed by the NATO in 1999 for a different reason. Back then it was not anymore Communist Party headquarters.
I suppose being on the Danube made Serbia like a central place for trade.
Yeah, Danube connects like Austria and through other rivers, even Germany and the rest of Europe to the Black Sea. Yeah. So it's an important route for trade, but I don't think it's used to the full capacity still. But today you see like a lot of tourists as well coming, with river cruises and stuff like that. Maybe it used to be trade ships, now it's tourist ships.
The sort of the tagline for the series is like intelligent travelers take 3 idiots on the road with them and attempt to explain foreign cultures.
That's a good tagline. It's like Idiot Abroad.
Idiot Abroad.
Yeah. The travel 101 for me is just ask the waiter what to do.
Yeah.
Are you filming yourself right now?
Yeah, I wanted to get like I want to have a little like Matt learns how to travel segment.
Yeah. If you choose the right restaurant,
Yeah.
then you can just say, feed me.
Yeah.
If you choose a tourist trap, they're just going to fleece you. And
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, question. How do you know he wound up in the tourist trap?
If there's a guy standing out on the sidewalk and trying to grab every single person walking by, saying, "Come, that's a tourist trap."
Okay, so if they want business, don't trust them.
Don't trust him.
Laminated menus are a bit of a red flag too.
Yeah.
So you probably have strong opinions about the state of the Serbian economy and whether or not this is a good place to do business.
It's not the best place to do business, it's not really the worst, but I think having in mind like the capacities of the people here and the environment, it could be much better. There have been improvements, for example, in getting construction permits. The public finance is more stable now. There hasn't been a big tax increase for several years. But at the same time, the rule of law is very bad, and that kind of deters and scares away the investors. Bureaucracy is still too big. Doing business electronically is kind of hard. Getting payments like with PayPal and stuff like that is still complicated. There are many small things that are kind of blocking the economy for going full speed. And of course, there is the fundamental one, which is the lack of the rule of law, which is significant. If you look at the Heritage Index, the Fraser Index, you will see, we are doing okay relative to Europe in, taxation, in labor freedom, in things like that. But the rule of law is not very good, and that's the fundamental, deficiency of the system here, because people don't want to really invest a lot if they risk, being stuck up in courts, having their property maybe confiscated, not being able to get their payments on time. So this is all blocking investment and blocking people from starting, like people from here, not only for investment, but it's harder, like if you're an entrepreneur here, there is a lot of taxes you have to pay, a lot of fixed costs because of the bureaucracy and the government regulation, but especially like for small people, you really have a lot of fixed costs with taxation, with the contributions to the pension fund. It's mostly corruption. Yeah. So for example, the rules are complicated, so you kind of have to find other ways to do what you want to do. Recently, we have the Belgrade waterfront area, which is being built right there. It's highly controversial. They would bring like people with bulldozers during night, destroy the building so that somebody can build there. And then police did nothing, the courts did nothing, and it's been like over 2 years now, nobody did anything. And a factory was destroyed overnight so somebody can build something. And this tells you about, the business environment.
So why did you haul me across town to this particular neighborhood? What the hell are we doing here?
So we're in front of the Tesla Museum, and Nikola Tesla was born an ethnic Serb back in the Austrian Empire, but he and Thomas Edison were very key figures in developing electricity. And I'm an engineer, so I'm kind of a nerd. So you drink beer, I do nerdy things on occasion.
So Tesla was sort of the dorky scientist who really understood the theory of what he was doing. And Edison, he almost sounds more like Steve Jobs, like he was the seller, he was the marketing guy.
Right. Tesla was actually a disruptor. He was a visionary. Edison just kind of plodded through things, but Tesla actually envisioned and started talking about wireless transmission. So without Tesla, we probably wouldn't have cell phones, for instance. And
So
Edison
he imagined this stuff.
Right, he imagined that stuff, and Edison was just making little sketches and developing the incandescent light bulb, which people say that many of Edison's inventions would have been invented by somebody else, but not what Tesla did.
And Edison was electrocuting animals in propaganda films.
Well,
what the hell?
There is that.
Wait, so Sam, what did you get?
I got a ham and cheese omelet, which was
Sam is going probably local.
It probably really shook up the kitchen back there because they offer a ham omelet and then a cheese omelet, but not a ham and cheese omelet. So I'm really breaking stereotypes around here.
Logie, what did you get?
So this is a traditional Serbian breakfast. It's, as I discovered when I went to Vienna, these countries they don't like hot breakfast. They like cold meat and cheese and an egg and a corn muffin for breakfast. So I wanted to go a little local, try something what they eat around here. It's got bacon and ham.
So you're president of Serbia, and you can make one change that would really unleash the economy here. What would it be?
There are many easy things that you can do, like, improve like the time that it takes to pay taxes or things like that. But I think to really improve, you would have to, one, really work on the rule of law, so the court cases last shorter, so that there is clearer rules, that there is a better judiciary system. So that's like the fundamental pillar, like the fundamental thing that has to be done, because everything else would be just like small thing compared to that. And then I would probably experiment with having a special economic zones in the poor parts of the country, where we would have like special regulatory environment, which is freer, like in Honduras, like in Hong Kong, where we could experiment with different models of economic development, and then maybe turn really poor areas or desolate areas into something prosperous like Singapore and Hong Kong. So a combination of those. I would, in most Serbia, just establish better rule of law, better judiciary, work on, cutting public spending where it's not necessary, and then, of course, lifting the tax burden and introduce special economic zones as, vehicle for very rapid economic growth.
Okay, Ghibli.
Don't shoot them, just shoot.
Ghibli.
Yeah, they are sipped. It is sipped, it's not shot.
Delicious.
This one tastes like grappa.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's not too sweet.
No.
The Quince one is sweeter.
Yeah, the Quince was sweeter. So Rocky in a teacup.
Actors, artists, poets. They hadn't committed any crimes. They weren't with the Nazis. They were dangerous because they knew how to tell a story upstream of political ideologies. And I think we need to understand and maybe take a lesson from that. If Tito thought that a poet was dangerous, maybe we need to do more poetry. Maybe we need to make more music. Maybe we need to make more videos, because things have changed.
So please join me welcoming our next speakers and enjoy the session.
You don't want to box yourself in with just one role. If something needs to be done, step up and do it. But before I knew it, I'm involved in a video production company. I never expected that to happen in my life, but now I'm doing it. It's wonderful. And I'm enjoying trying to change hearts and minds.
Come up with a story that moves you, and you're going to move your audience. That's how it works. If it affects you, it's going to affect your audience, and just trust that process to happen.
So a good first day. You guys all did this panel, and per my advice, you didn't fuck it up. The house was packed, and I think a lot of people were sort of interested. Every student I've met has been watching our videos, and they're sort of picking them apart to see, and they're looking at the metrics that they can see. So from my point of view, mission accomplished, because I want every one of these groups to be stealing all of our stuff and using it and rethinking it and beating us at our own game. But I think there's 3 or 4 other panels, and you guys filled the room. So I was mostly surprised that Battaglia did okay, I'll be honest.
There's such an interesting mix of different styles when you look at the architecture, because there's clearly the stuff that's like communist Soviet, which looks like, prisons, but there's something interesting about them because now they're old and worn out, so they look like they were sort of meant to be there type of thing, like they fit. And then you have like these sort of beautiful like buildings that have all these sort of more intricate details around them.
So you've got the great contrast of the old beautiful architecture, and then right across the square is the Soviet style foreign apartments that would just suck the life out of you.
I wonder if there was an explicit decision by the Soviet Union to herd everyone into cement boxes to kind of dehumanize them, or was it just stupid architecture that was cheap to make?
The theory of communism had to do with being utilitarian and being modernist and kind of rejecting the romanticism of the past. And so I don't know if it was explicitly to dehumanize people by putting them in cardboard boxes, but the whole theory of modern architecture was part and parcel with communist ideology.
Petar was saying, like yesterday, talking about growing up in the block, where it was built to have like everything you need in this one little community. You go to the school there, there's all your sort of shopping and necessities are right there, and everyone's in these block buildings, and it's almost the same feeling as the way that he was describing it. It sounded almost like dorm living in the US, right? Like,
it's a consequence of central planning when you're trying to be as efficient as possible, and you don't allow the beauty of just spontaneous buildings to crop up and everyone to design it the way they want it to be.
You don't tip in this country.
No.
You don't tip in Europe, right?
No one tips except Americans, basically.
But you're on both.
All right, so here's breakfast for 5 people. It's 2,040 dinar, which converts roughly to $20 in the US. So we just had breakfast for 5 for $20, which is why traveling over here is pretty awesome. I have to look twice because I make sure that I have it correctly.
So the dollar is strong.
The dollar is very strong here.
Don't they grow wine in Serbia?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think we had some Serbian wine last time.
There are several areas where there are wineries, cellars, but they're outside of the city. You have to go into countryside and really see them. But in recent years, especially this industry, the wine industry, has been growing very fast, and you have many family-owned like cellars that have built up production, and they're now exporting around the world. And I've heard from people who buy them in other countries, they're considered pretty good wines.
So you're wondering how the hell I found this place, right? So yesterday when I was walking to meet up with you, I walked past this bar and it looked really cool. And we like to try different wines in different countries. And since this was a wine bar focused on Serbian wines, I thought it would be a cool place. I mean, most people think when you're in Europe, the only place to get good wine is France and Italy. But every country makes amazing wine and people just don't know about it. And it's a really cool way to experience the culture and try new things.
We've had wine in Croatia, and I feel like every Balkan country makes really cool wines, which you wouldn't really expect, but pre-communism they all made these beautiful wines. This one's kind of a Bordeaux style. I don't know, I can't read it because it's all in Serbian, but there's definitely Cabernet in here. It's probably Merlot, and it's pretty damn good.
It is good. And I mean, we've had wines in Georgia, and that's one of the earliest countries, I believe, that started producing wine.
Yeah.
So, and Georgia actually exports to the US. They sell it at Whole Foods.
Well, it must be.
It must be good if they sell it at Whole Foods.
All I know is that it's been a long day, and a nice glass of Cabernet is pretty cool.
Perfect way to end the day.
With my special lady.
At least you called me that and not your honey badger.
Yeah. I've called you other things too.
Yeah, I know.
This night has turned into a horror movie.
This did turn into a horror movie. I told you. I'm never getting a real one. Okay.
All right. Well, we're around people now, so that's good.
And we were just on a boat on a river where we almost got presumably murdered and left in the Danube.
Yeah.
And now we're in a outdoor restaurant with a band.
Yeah, I think traveling is about just exploring. Just kind of going where your instincts are telling you to go.
And that's what this is. That's great.
Exactly what we did.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to find. Like, so much of the stuff over here is the same as what they have in the U.S. And if you go to the touristy parts, you're going to be disappointed. But you wander around, you find stuff that's completely different.
In the U.S., this does not exist as a restaurant. This is just like there's like just half of a wall up, and now okay, we put a restaurant here.
Also, this place is so much different than the place we were just at.
Yes.
Like
5 minutes later.
Yes.
Night and day
Different place.
This is very like hip and upscale.
Yeah.
There's a band playing.
It's like white. There's bright lights.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel safe here.
We need to rename this series Traveling with Idiots.